Hi, this is Debbie with Living the Hobby Farm Dream, and today we're going to be doing episode 12. It's going to be some things that we found to be really tough here on our hobby farm. First of all, we ask that you follow our show on Spotify and also on YouTube. It really helps a lot if you can do that, and we appreciate all those of you that are listening. And today on episode 12, we're going to be talking about 4 basic tough things that we've had to deal with on our hobby farm. And the first thing that I wanted to just talk a little bit briefly about is it's really lovely to see all the picture perfect small farms on social media, which we've all enjoyed and perhaps is what made us want to have a small farm life. But the reality of farm life is this: the death of farm animals will inevitably happen. And this is a tough but real part of small farms with animals. We have raised many types of animals on our small farm in the last 9 years. These have included a horse, sheep, chickens, turkeys, a cat, and dogs. Seeing animals you have raised and grown close to either being processed or becoming sick and dying or being attacked by predators is a very hard thing to go through. It is especially hard if you're an animal lover like I am, and no one can prepare you for how tough it is. The first thing that I want to talk about with this was raising meat chickens and turkeys. And some animals, like our meat chickens and turkeys, were raised to be processed and eaten or sold. We knew from the very start that they would be processed for food, and we wanted to have healthy food for our family. Yet when it came time to have our chickens and turkeys processed, I'm telling you right now, it was very hard. We took great care of our poultry, but we did not spend as much time with them as we did our egg-laying hens, and this was on purpose so as not to become attached to them. But it still made it difficult to see our poultry processed. We were glad to have the meat, knowing that the poultry had a great life and was treated humanely. We were extremely glad to have our poultry processed in a humane way. Yet the actual processing part was hard to watch. And we did get through it, and we were able to enjoy the meat that they provided. We knew it was good to know where our food came from, and it gave us a greater appreciation for the life of the animals and how they feed us. We feel like on our farm that is a good thing in this day and age that we live in, of supermarkets and lots of stores everywhere, is to understand more of what it takes to have fresh food from animals, and we have learned to not take it so lightly. And so raising animals for meat is a real eye-opening experience, and if you do that on your farm, I think you'll understand, and maybe some of you can relate to that if you've raised any kind of animals on your farm and then had to process those to feed your family. It gives you kind of a reverence for life and a reverence for the animals that feed your family, and we'd highly recommend it, but it is a hard thing that you have to do if you're on a small farm raising animals to eat. The second thing that I want to talk about that's been very difficult for us on our hobby farm is having farm animals that die from accidents, diseases, or even the elements. We have had many of our chickens and one turkey die from unknown causes. Our tom turkey we were raising for meat died just a few weeks before processing, and we still do not know why. We just went out there one day to our area where we kept our meat turkeys, and he had been really healthy. The only tom turkey in all the turkeys that we were raising, all the rest were hens, and we just found him there, and he'd passed away, just within a few weeks before we were going to process our turkeys. And we've had chickens die from tumors, from bullying by other chickens, also from heat stroke. Where we live, it's very warm here, and so you have to make sure that they have mister systems, lots of water and shade. One of our chickens was stepped on by a horse and killed. Another was caught under a tarp that we had put over the hay. It gone in there, and we didn't realize it was in there, and it got too hot in there. Also, we've had some, most recently, killed by predators, and others just unknown causes. We'd find them that they had died. Some people have told us that poultry, that's no big deal, it's just a chicken. But when you've raised them and you've invested in them and their eggs, or also for meat, and taking really good care of them, it's tough to suddenly have them die. Living on a farm and raising animals, you must accept the idea that some animals will get sick and have an accident or get old and die. That's just part of raising animals. And we do all that we can do. We make sure that they have plenty of fresh water and fresh food, and we supplement their diet with herbs and with other table scraps to help them to be healthy. We make sure they have oyster shells and grit, and that they have plenty of room in the coop and to spread out and be able to live a healthy pasture-raised life. And we've taken all that into consideration, but there are still times when you will have your chickens and your other fowl die on your property. The third thing that's been really hard is having larger animals that get sick or die. Our horse Ruby is an American quarter horse, and we've had her for about 10 years. And she had a terrible sickness at one time called strangles a few years back. That was back when we were boarding her with lots of other horses. You didn't know strangles is a highly infectious disease which can cause abscesses of the lymphoid tissues and the lymphoid tissue of the upper respiratory tract of the horses. It's a common disease among horses and can cause death. Our horse Ruby was very ill from it and thankfully was nursed back to health by a very good veterinarian. We had also one of our baby doll sheep, Molly, pass away last summer from a heat-related stress and dehydration, and it was very unexpected. We have only had sheep for about 6 years, and we had never had anything like that ever happen, even with the warmer weather here, because we've always provided lots of shade and water and also misting systems and fans in all the areas where they sleep and where they stay a lot of the time. And so we were really surprised when she died of dehydration. Watching a beloved farm animal or a pet pass away is very, very difficult. I don't think you ever get used to it, whether it's on a farm or just even your pets. It's something that you do when you're an animal lover and you have animals, but I will never get used to it, and it's breaks your heart. It's very hard. Veterinary care for serious diseases, accidents, or other health concerns can also be expensive. I remember at the time that Ruby got strangles, it was going to be thousands of dollars, possibly if they had to operate or do something with her, and we were really lucky that our vet was able to give her antibiotics and give her the medications and things that she needed, and she was able to recover. But we came down to a point where we thought we may have to put her down and not be able to have her, even though she was not that old at the time. She was only about 14 years old. And so it's a very scary thing when your animals get sick. Also, another thing is if they die on your farm, disposing of large farm animals after their death can be very expensive and a difficult experience. I don't think I'll ever forget having our beloved sheep Molly taken away after she succumbed to heat-related stress. On a farm, you realize that life goes on even after a beloved pet has passed away, yet it is still really hard to deal with when you have a soft heart for animals. So just warning you that if you decide to do a hobby farm and you have animals, just make sure that you know that it's just like in life that some of your animals are not going to make it. And sometimes it's nothing that you've done. Sometimes it could be something that maybe you've done but you didn't realize you've done. But if you're taking really good care of your animals, just know that you've done all that you can to keep your animals safe and all that you can to provide a healthy environment for them. And the fourth thing that has been really, really hard on our farm, and especially probably within the last few months, we've lived here about 9 years, and within the last few months we've had more predators on our property. Those predators that we've had include coyotes and hawks, and we've had dogs and other things on our property too that have hurt or killed our animals. But no matter where you live and how well you take care of your farm animals, there will be some predators in your area that could injure or kill your animals. And like I said, the predators where we live have mostly been things like hawks and dogs and cats and coyotes. I remember when we first moved here, we had some aggressive dogs come into our yard and try to injure or kill our chickens. We've had young chickens fly over our fence into our neighbor's yard and get killed and eaten by their dogs. And we've had to clip the wings to keep them from doing that. We've also had hawks swooping down to try to kill our young chickens. And recently we've had coyotes coming into our yard over high fences to kill our chickens just for the sport of it. They aren't even eating the chickens, and so it's been really tough finding those beloved chickens that were killed or injured, and we've had a few injured that did not get better after being attacked by a coyote. We do have a very well-built chicken coop that was put down deep in the ground with a run on it, and the chickens have been safe while in the coop or in the run area. We enjoy letting them free range, yet we know there's a risk in letting your chickens free range when there's predators about. We have placed some flashing lights around the chicken coop and the fence. These we were told to use by someone that lives out here by us and said that they were helpful keeping coyotes away from their chickens. There's always that worry that you'll lose more chickens once the coyotes are to know that you have chickens in your yard. And our chickens provide us with plenty of eggs, and they are not only an investment for our food, but we enjoy them as pets. And it is very disturbing to see your beloved pets killed on your farm by these predators. And if you can relate to this, you know how hard it is. And monetarily, but also because they're your pets and you enjoy having them on your farm. They're entertaining, they lay eggs for you, and some provide meat for you. We've lost 6 or 7 now within the last couple of months. We have learned that all these things are part of being an animal keeper on a small farm, and that we have a responsibility to provide food and water and safety for our farm animals, and we do the best we can to provide those necessities. We assess what has happened and we try to prevent more deaths. We can help with this by making sure animals have regular vet visits at least once a year to be checked for shots and to see if their health is good. Also, we have our vet come out for like our horse to give shots twice a year in the spring and in the fall, and to make sure that she looks healthy and well. And as she gets older, if her food needs to be changed or anything like that. And we also try to make sure that you have strong coops, strong cages, strong places to keep your animals. And another thing that you can do is you can have things like guardian dogs for your flocks and other animals that can act as guardians, such as geese, donkeys, llamas, or guinea hens. And maybe some of you have tried those to make sure that your flocks and of sheep or goats and chickens are safe. It's really important that you watch out for them as much as you can, because you can't keep your eye on them always. And we've been on this farm for 9 years now, and we also believe in praying over our farm and our animals every day for their safety. We've been blessed with safety for the most part over our place all these years, and we believe that prayers help on your farm. I hope that you've enjoyed this and that you can see that having animals is a pleasure. We've really, really enjoyed it. It's brought a lot of life to our farm, and we've learned so much by raising the animals on our farm. And we hope that you'll think about some of these things before you get animals or before you start your hobby farm, just so you're aware that there's going to be some things that you need to deal with, whether you have children, young children, or older children, or even as adults, things that might be hard to talk about or hard to have happen at your farm. But it's something that everyone has to go through when they live on a small farm and raise animals. And I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like more to know about things that we've learned, please ask the questions and comment if there's something that you liked or enjoyed about this podcast. Again, please follow our show on Spotify or on YouTube. It helps if you do. And listen to these and share them with your friends and family, anyone that might be interested in having a hobby farm or learning something about a hobby farm. And we really appreciate, again, you listening in for us. And our next podcast will be episode number 13. And the thing that we're going to be talking about for episode 13 is, do I need to raise every animal and grow every crop in my garden on your hobby farm? So that's something you can be thinking about. We're going to be talking about in a couple weeks. And it's a subject that I think I wondered about before I did a hobby farm, thinking that I had to do everything. And it's something that we're learning more about in our community, that sometimes maybe there's some things that you don't have to do or grow. But we'll talk about that at our next podcast. So we hope that you'll listen in and learn about that in a couple weeks. And thank you again for listening to our podcast.